So they are, before entering into the first standard, let us say the preschool is there. When you have been working in the preschools, you know, you have got some experience there. That experience can be taken into account for framing questions, because we have already some information obtained through your experience. It was obtained through your experience. That experience can help you to frame a question. So the practical experience can be used. It can be a source for framing the question. Secondly, the most important is literature review. We have a topic for research, we have a particular area of interest, and that topic you read through books, you read through journals, either offline or online. Journals are. When you go through the relevant literature as much as possible, you get an understanding of what has been done so far in that area, what has been done, what has not been done. And you also find that if you are going for literature of the past 25 years or 50 years like that, we can find an emerging trends time to time like that. The trend that you follow in the area of research will vary. New emerging trends you can see as according to the dynamism that takes place all over. So based on that, you are able to find a suitable question, and literature review is the best source. So, reading literature, the reviewer may find that little research exists about children's perceptions of domestic violence. Let us say the topic we are going to do research is on children's perceptions of domestic violence. Let us say the theme of research is like this: children's perceptions of domestic violence. You are going through literature related with that. By reading a number of papers related in the area, you find that in some places there is no work done. There is a gap in that area. There is a lacuna in that particular area. And if you are able to find out that lacuna or the gap, put that question to fill that gap. That is going to be the research question for you, easy research question for you, because nobody has done work in that area. The lacuna or the gap can be filled by your investigation. So researcher chooses this topic for research study and draft a research question. Third source is brainstorming discussion. Discussion can be done with experts. Most available can be your own colleagues, the faculties in your own department or in other institutions like that. When you make discussions with them, it is, why we say brainstorming, it is actually an interaction with the different colleagues on that particular subject. So by that, you may be able to get new ideas, new questions may come to your mind through that discussions, that is brainstorming. An interaction with your colleagues may help you to find a question. That question can form your research question. Let us say that you have some research questions. Number of questions you have asked, just reduce it to some 4 or 5 lines. Some 10 questions you have in your mind. Leave out or filter them. Reduce it to some 5 questions or 4 questions or 3 questions. That concentrate on those 3 questions. Literature collection, confine it to the 3 questions only. Why? To make it more refined, to make it more concise, you go for more additional reading on that. So use additional reading in the selected topics and then finalize the questions. Different types of questions, so you are able to develop. So the types of questions normally are classified as descriptive questions, exploratory questions, and explanatory questions. This the normal classification. Descriptive questions, exploratory questions, and explanatory questions. This first one is descriptive questions. These questions are look like descriptions of a particular issue or a situation like that. It can aim maybe to describe the current state of a phenomenon, and it may not be to test a hypothesis. It may be a descriptive type of question only, and it can give only a causal relationship. It can have only perhaps one variable. Descriptive type of question may have only one variable. Whatever be the case, you will be asking in any form of research. The question that you normally ask is why, how, the what, when, where. When you put all these simple questions, that arouses your curiosity to know things. What, how, when, where, who, how. That questions should come in your mind when you are facing questions. For example, what percentage of low-income children complete primary school in communities of Mumbai? But it is in Mumbai or in our Cochin, not necessarily Mumbai anymore. It can be done in do you understand the question, What percentage of low-income children complete primary school in communities? There some variables are there, some parameters are there. It's low-income children. Low-income children normally studying in primary schools may not be able to complete their schooling. So the question is, what percentage of low-income children are able to complete it? So it needs data, it needs collection of data analysis for it. Now the population that we choose for that, sampling, that is very important. So based on that, we will be able to derive it. So question is asked here, a example of a descriptive question is given here. Exploratory question, where you are exploring, you are investigating, the question you are trying to investigate or study of a particular problem or a phenomenon. Example of an exploratory question. Is there a relationship between maternal education and children's school completion in rural Kerala? What do you mean? Children's school complete. One thing it is in rural, study is done in rural Kerala. Study is done in rural Kerala, one. Secondly, it is school children. It is among the school children. Then the children who had already their mothers educated mothers, their children, how they are able to complete their education. Is there a relationship between maternal education and children's school completion in rural care? If the mother is educated, their children, are they able to complete their education? The question when you ask, there needs a comparison. More variables may be required, because you may have to compare with mothers who are not educated, who are educated as well as not educated may also come in. Then you are trying to exploratory things, because more detailed investigation is there. Usually can involve two or more variables. That is why I said it can be mothers with education, mothers who are illiterate, children, illiterate mother, literate mother. Variables two. Explanatory questions. Take for the example. Here also two or more variables may come up. Do parents who have completed their bachelor's degree have the same aspirations for their daughters as parents with education less than SSLC? So this is having bachelor's degree. Some of the parents are having only SSLC. Their children or their daughters, their daughters, their daughters are not sons, here it's specific. The daughters are sent to schools, how they behave, how they study, complete their education. What is the level of their education? Whether they are those who are parents who are having bachelor's degree, whether their children are able to complete their education better than theirs, or parents who are having only a SSLC qualification. You can tilt this, and change it in the way you like that, depending upon the lacuna or the gap in the case of that area like that. So, we have mainly three. If you go through literature, several other types can also be seen. So much of literature is available. So, what are the elements of a good research question? First thing, the research question must be significant. That is what we mean by significant. It means it should have the potential to contribute and extend significant learning on the issue. It should have the potential. The question is asked only. The question should have the potential to produce significant results. The potential is with reference to the question we are talking about. The question should be potential, so that it will generate more of significant results. In other words, the study results address knowledge gap, and new knowledge generated will be theoretically valid or practically relevant. The outcome of the question or the answer to that question should be practically relevant. It should be theoretically valid. The question you ask, another category number of questions, may be wrote here. It may not be practical. There is no point in asking a question which cannot be worked out. It should be feasible. We must be able to do that within our framework. In every respect of the term, we must be able to do that work. That is, the question must be feasible, because the availability of various resources, that is the most important. You should have literature available with you. If you are going for some experimentation, that facilities for doing experiments should be there. That should be facilitated. That is feasibility we are speaking about. Then time is a factor. Feasibility has also a factor like time. It should be done in a period of 2 years like that, or 3 years like that. But we need money for it. But doing research is expensive. Normally research is expensive. If you are not getting any fellowship or scholarship like that, we will have to spend money from your pocket to do research. So don't take up which is highly expensive. Within our reach, the problem should be one, we will not be able to spend much of money like that. I was a research scholar in Madras University for 2 years with no stipend, with no fellowship. I had a tough time. I was a research scholar in Madras University. There is no money, Money has to come from my father, who was a farmer. He was living on the coconuts. Coconut cutting is not there every month as we get salary. So, normally, the little he will spend 200 rupees only that time, but it will not come every month, yet or beginning of every month. It will get delayed for another 15 days also. So that small amount we have to tide over all the problems, not only the living as well as the requirements of research also. And at the end, after 2 years, I became a stipendary scholar of Madras University. That time I get 250 rupees. Don't compare with the percent rate like that. It was in the 75, 79 period. That 250 rupees was enough that time to live on like that. Because that time UGC fellowship was offered. UGC fellowship was 300 rupees. Madras University fellowship 250. Yeah, UGC fellowship, they are in a better position. Even if it is 50 rupees increase only, they are in a very aligned elevated status, The 50 makes a lot of difference there. So, when we say the feasibility, consider all these aspects also. Not only the working out in the problem, taking into account the money, time, and the resource subject. So consider your resource limited, and based on that, finalize your question. Based on all these limitations, finalize your question. The research question must be clear and concise. There should be some clarity in that. It should be concise. If you put it in an abstract form, nobody will understand. But it should be clear. The question that you ask must be clear. That is why it is put as clear, and there should be significant. The research question must be ethically sound. That it is must be morally right and wrong, or it can lead to harm. It is a harm if it is not ethically the right way. Just some more tips when you frame a research question. First thing that you have to remember is that research question is a question, not a statement. Not a statement. There should be what, why, how, where, something that should be there. There should be a question mark also. It is not a simple statement. So, therefore, do not draft as a question as a simple statement, and it should not be too broad. It should not be too narrow. That also to be considered. Another tip: the question is practical and can be investigated empirically. Practical in the sense it can be what feasibility we are speaking about, really practical. But empirically, the question should be investigated empirically. What is meant by empirical? It has to be based on some observation or experience only. Based on observation means it is not just seeing with your eye alone. That will not be a proof. You will need some scientific technologies to make observations. That is the empirical research. Empirical research. Scientific methodologies have to be followed to get data and to collect data. Then, of course, a thorough literature review should be taken up to frame a research question. See that terms are well defined in the question. For example, instead of saying, there is a question asked, how does teacher training influences students? That's a question for your investigation. Research question for your investigation. How does teacher training influence students? It is not very concise, it is not very specific. Can you make it a little more specific? That's a question. Can it make more clear? So see the next part of it. The second paragraph is that the question is little made more specific about. How does teacher training influence student performance in annual exams? Or we have, instead of influencing students, we have added student performance in annual exams. The question has been given more clarity. The teacher training influence, the investigation is on teacher training, how it influences students. But there is no clarity in that. How they make the influence? Influence on what? Influence on what? It can be on varied angles, varied aspects like that. But here the second part, influence on the performance in the annual exam. It has become question has become very clear. You can focus your research, you can concentrate in your research in this particular question that you want. Please specify that the population you are studying in your question. Population, that the group where you are doing study. The school children, college students, you come in the college students, which group? Whether science student or arts student or a training student, like that. the population. We are making studies related to student problems. The population refers to students the class is studying. For example, it is saying pre-scholars. We are going to study those students who are preschoolers. Before that, you take your something higher. Instead of saying that, you can say that we are going to make a study on small children who are of age 3 to 5 years. Because it becomes precise. Your target group is 3 to 5-year-old children. The other one is vague. Preschooler, very old people can be there in the preschooling classroom. So let it be a particular age. Frame your question in a provocative way. Provocative means it's something that invites anger, or is that is annoying. That is meaning provocative, means inciting or annoying questions. See the question, for example, why has the incidence of smoking increased even though the frequency of anti-smoking campaigns has increased? See, the local body is undertaking certain campaign, say anti-smoking campaign, or local body is taking some propaganda measures, anti-smoking campaigns they are doing. But unfortunately, we find that the incidence of smoking has increased. We can ask a question, why has the incidence of smoking increased even though the frequency of anti-smoking campaigns has increased? It's an irritating question, It's an irritating question. It's a provocative question. But still, you can ask, but it needs investigation to find answer. In questions, when you ask, limit the variables. It can be one variable, two variables, three variables. More number of variables make it very complex for you to investigate. So limit your variables. Too many result in a study that is too large or too complicated. Make sure that your questions are ethical. Make sure that they are feasible to study. Keep your research questions objective to avoid value judgments. You see an example given here. The question, and does the bad habit of smoking cause lung cancer? Avoid value judgments. What is wrong with this question? Does the bad habit of smoking cause lung cancer? What is wrong with that question? Bad is there. You are already giving the answer. The bad smoking can cause cancer, and there is something bad. Avoid that bad one. So that's the habit of smoking cause lung cancer. What should be the question? Finally, the question should be interesting as far as possible and keep focused to that. Now, once you have framed a question, you are making your investigations, continue for months together, years together, let us say another 1.5 years you have passed. You just ask me a question, the one you have asked in the beginning of your research. What is the question you have asked? Whether you are going in the correct direction or whether it was just for coursework only. Just put your brain, put your thinking, whether you are going in the right direction as the question you have asked. That is important, not to deviate from your actual line of your research. Second part we are coming. Questions you are coming. Second part is hypothesis. What is a hypothesis? Hypothesis, SIS singular, SES is plural, hypothesis. It is a statement that explains the relationship between two or more variables. Hypothesis, two or more variables. There can be independent variable or there can be dependent variable, and in a population you are making the study, and as a result of making the study you get a predicted outcome also. So So in quantitative studies, normally the hypothesis testing is done, not in qualitative study, but mostly in quantitative study, the hypothesis is tested. What are the characteristics of a hypothesis? What are the characteristics? It is phrased as a statement, not as a question. See the difference? In a question, it is not a simple statement, it is a question mark. But in a hypothesis, it is a statement. Hypothesis statement is not too general or not too specific. It is clear and unambiguous terms. Not confusing, it's not confusing. It's not confusing. Hypothesis is also a testable statement, just like the question you are asking, which is testable. Hypothesis is also a testable statement. Somebody can test it. You have to test it and see that it is proved. Once you are able to prove it, others are also should be able to prove that based on the methodology you have followed. So the hypothesis has to be tested and verified. It has to be validated. It has to be validated. That's true. How to generate a hypothesis. Just as we discussed, how to develop a question, how to frame a question, how to generate a hypothesis. And it can start from, you need theoretical information. First you need some theory. From that you can develop a hypothesis. After developing that hypothesis, you go for making observations. That is, observations are through investigations. And now as a collection of data, the analysis of data, you get observations. Based on that, you come to some conclusions, we form the confirmation part of it. Theory, hypothesis, observation, and the confirmation. What is this theory? What is this theory? Theory can be just a guesswork. Normally we say, after all it is theoretical, it is not practical. But normally when we talk like that, we say like this. It's just a guesswork sometimes, It is not having any support. That is a guesswork issue. So without supporting evidence, we say theory. But practically it's not like that. Practically when you do that, you have the data to prove that. So, but for scientists, theory is a well-substantiated explanation. Theory for scientists is a well-substantiated explanation. For example, we have heard of the theory of gravitation. Theory of gravitation. The apples fall down from the trees. It is the theory of gravitation. The astronauts float in the air. It is theory of gravitation. It is based on a theory. Similarly, is the theory of evolution. Evolution of plants, evolution of animals, the Darwin theory. Darwin theory we explain. They are all in facts, with supporting evidences. The field of genetics have developed based on Darwin theory. So much of development has taken in the field of genetics based on the theory proposed by Darwin. Darwin theory, that is the theory of evolution. So theory forms the base for hypothesis. Theory forms the base for hypothesis. A theory explains facts. It allows scientists to make predictions. That is the most important. In hypothesis, we are making predictions. Theory helps in making predictions. Theory allows scientists to make predictions. Scientific theories so are testable also. When you say testable means it should produce direct results. It should be reproducible. Even if you test it true by yourself, it should be the same if it is repeated by somebody else also. If we have given the correct methodology in that, if the work that you have done with the methodology, if I am to repeat that, if I test it again by myself, I should get that result. That is the testable, that is the meaning of that word. Scientific theories are testable. So theory is the starting point in the process of hypothesis. And in theory, when you take it as a variable, it defines how certain variables or concepts relate with the needs covered. We can identify theories during literature review process. You can identify theories. How do you get theories? It is going through literature only. And the theories will help you to ascertain, to come to certain principles or concepts that can be used in the formation or the framing of hypothesis. So in hypothesis, we predict the relationship between variables being considered in the frame. In the hypothesis, there can be prediction of the rate. Hypothesis is where you are actually predicting things. You are actually predicting things. See, it will happen like this. It will not happen like this. That is prediction.